Isn't he lovely? Isn't he wonderful? Unfortunately, I don't have a singing voice, so please, everybody, Ross and NJ, a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
It's Thursday, and we having a good bits. But this session it's actually very special for me, and I actually wanted to interview Ross than Ross wants to interview me. I don't even think he can interview me because we've had various discussions, but I remember meeting you in Dubai, I think 2022 or 2023, and we're both going to ADIPEC. And Ross actually was one of those who believed in this. And then he told me his story about what he's doing at Welligence, and we struck up what became more than a friendship. And I called him a brother. And it's amazing to see how you've been able to grow Welligence and the hard work you've put in. And this is his first Energy Week. He's been on the road 3 weeks. And so, before going into it, Ross, how do you feel about being here in Cape Town, what you've seen so far with Africa Energy Week and the discussions you've had, and with Welligence and other issues around energy issues across Africa?
Well, it's amazing. First of all, thank you for the kind words, NJ. But it's amazing what you've built. I mean, this is an incredible conference. Um, as you said, is my first Africa Energy Week. I just can't believe how many people are here and how much excitement there is for African oil and gas in this industry. There are a lot of different factors that play into that, right? In 2025, we are seeing a lot more buyers than sellers. Everybody wants to hold on to their assets. We're seeing a lot of interest in exploration, and I think with the resource that Africa has, it's a really incredible week.
Mhm.
Just tons and tons of interest. Every seat is full. Every meeting room is full. I mean, it's just really amazing, and it's energizing to see for the continent.
And I know for those in this room and those outside, the first thing I want to preface this to start is that, can you tell us briefly what does Welligence, what do you guys do? Okay, because most of us don't even understand it.
We are an upstream oil and gas data and analysis aggregator. So we currently have close to 120 analysts across the world. We cover every barrel of oil and gas globally. Within Africa, we have a team that looks at everything: West Africa, East Africa, North Africa, and everything in between. We advise over 100 E&Ps on, they use our platform for screening and understanding the opportunities here in Africa, investment banks, trading firms, and more.
But I like when you talk about data. One of the biggest issues with Africa has been risk and data, and how we really use data to drive up our upstream industry. How's Welligence really worked with that, and what do you think we can improve in Africa when it comes to attracting investment? Because for us, the key that is always important: how do we attract necessary investment into markets in, like, I don't care, Mozambique, Angola, Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal? How where do you think we can improve, and where do we stand with that issue, and how do companies, the work you do at Welligence, how can it really improve us?
I think the African governments are doing a lot of the right things right now. We are seeing that the ministries and the regulators are very proactive. Road shows, we're seeing them at all the different conferences across the world. Uh, they have been flexible increasingly on fiscal terms and understanding and making the regulatory environment as positive as possible. I think one thing that a message that I'd like to get out is that EMPs across the world, they do a lot of their screening and analysis from their desktops. That can be Houston, that can be New York, that can be London, that can be Joburg, Tokyo, Dubai, anywhere. And country A is screened in the context of the world, right? So when EMPs are looking where to go and how to allocate capital, that desktop work is only can only go as far as the data and the analysis available through platforms like ours.
So you get that data from across the world or even from in country, and then build a country profile on it or an asset profile, and then it helps companies to make better decisions. I'm a little country boy. You got to, you know,
Well, we might have an E&P come to us and say, we are screening Brazil versus Angola versus Egypt versus Oman, versus Indonesia. We have a select group of opportunities. If one of those countries, if the data availability is extremely thin, those individuals doing that desktop work have a more difficult time analyzing the ability to put capital
but
into
what
that
are
country.
some of the biggest hurdles we have? Because our government's giving you the data that you need.
It's a mixed bag. I think that there is this sort of legacy view across the world that data is an asset. Data is mine. I must hold data close.
Yeah, but true. But why should the government give you their data? Shouldn't they keep that with themselves and maybe what's beneficial for them to share that data with you? And for example, I see Ade sitting here. He's a banker, but let's say he's a regulator. Make a case to him why him as a regulator should give you his country's data, um, and how would that help him?
Well, I think the definition of an asset is something that provides future value. Everybody thinks data is an asset, but if it's sitting on a hard drive somewhere collecting dust in your closet, it provides no future value to anyone. Um, if you take that data, analyze it, find the opportunities, and then attract capital to your country, that is the definition of an asset. So I think what I would advise Mr. Ade as a regulator would say, let's look at your data together. Let's publish it. Let's find all the opportunities. Let's be very clear about where exploration has happened, what exploration data exists, and then let's point out what is the underexplored area, what are these well results, where can somebody come in and finish the job, versus trying to keep that quiet and expecting people to come to you as the regulator. Because a lot of this work, like I said, is done at desktops across the world. The data is not valuable sitting alone. The data is valuable from a regulator as you have thousands of people across the world analyzing it to understand exactly and pinpoint where they want to put in production. And the last thing I'll say is, as you go up the chain to make an investment decision, you eventually get to investment committees and things like that. And if you get to an investment committee,
But let me hold you there, and I want you to pick up from there. But you're talking about investment committees within companies, but I want you to pick from that, but also look at a guy like Carlos. He's really rich. He has a lot of money, and you get to be with all these big people. What do investment committees and guys like Carlos with a lot of money? I don't want one of you guys here try to rob him and see everything. With a lot of money, how do these guys make that decision based on data? And what do they talk about Africa's oil and gas or upstream, be it midstream or downstream, in those closed door rooms?
yeah, I mean, Carlos might say, I've got two options. I'm going to do all of my work from here and understand exactly everything in a country where I have all the data and come up with a sound analysis and thesis. Or I'm going to have to really spend a lot of time in that country and a ton of effort to fully understand things. Of course, a lot of people have been extremely successful in putting in that focused effort, but you do exclude a lot of potential investors when you make it that much more difficult for them to enter your country, to prove out the thesis, to get the financing. We talk about financing all the time and how difficult it is. The less robust your investment thesis is, the less data and analysis, the harder to finance it and everything in between. So that's what we're trying to do: benchmark countries, benchmark data analysis, and we've had a great week so far here talking to the different regulators and trying to explain to them that the way to attract capital, put it out there, let people analyze it.
Big question. I talked to a guy who really nice guy. He ended up working for you, and in Paris 2 years ago, and he walked up to me. He said, "Listen, I believe in really, really making energy poverty history because we need to do that we collectively. But we look at how do we translate what you do with Welligence? And where do we go big in Africa? Like, what are the big plans for our continent? What is upstream, midstream, and how can you use what you do, your data, to help translate us into our biggest goal, granting energy access to so many that don't have?
Africa has the resource. There's no question about it. When we look at our platform, when we benchmark it across the world, Africa has the resource. This is a moment in time in 2025. The macro winds have changed. There are countries across the world who are facing production declines towards the end of this decade or even before, and they're looking out for their next move. This should be the destination for capital. And what Welligence can do is make it as easy and seamless as possible to analyze, to find that opportunity, to go get it, and hopefully increase production and make African oil and gas great again.
Last question. I know you have an office here in South Africa. Where is your next big move in our continent?
Beyond South Africa, well, I'll tell you where we're seeing a lot of interest. We were on stage yesterday with Rhino Resources that announced the Namibian discovery. Uh, we work closely with Murphy Oil and others that have gone into Cote d'Ivoire. It's just incredible the number of explorers looking at West Africa right now. That's going to be a key area of focus for us over the next few years, I believe.
Are we seeing a Welligence office in maybe Nigeria or in Cairo or somewhere else in Africa, let's say over the next 40 years or next 3 years?
I hope I don't offend anyone. I know there's people representing a lot of countries, but I would say Nigeria is probably the country where we do spend the most time and the highest likelihood in the near term.
You've spent a lot of time with your Oga Hobo, and now he convinced you. But Ross, it's
Yeah.
a big honor. Thank you so much for having this discussion with me, and
Thank you. I
truly,
appreciate it.
truly honored from not just for the support, but also for the friendship. Thank you so much.
I appreciate your friendship as well. Thanks everybody for joining today.
Thank you.